Okay, so we are Pasuk Bet, Perek Chet, Pasuk Bet. בראש מרומים עלי דרך in the top of the mountains, of the heights, עלי דרך, she makes her way. Bet netivot nitzava, and she stands, she makes her way by the crossroads. So once again, this is referring to the Chokhmah. So the Gaon addresses, and he says here that we will see that Emet is that this pasuk is connected to the next two psukim, and there are different layers of Chokhmah and the way the Chokhmah reveals itself to the world. Okay, as we learned in the last shiur, we have explained or tried to explain in a simple way the source of the Chokhmah, its infinity, versus the Binah, the Tevunah, and its individuality. So now, that's in general. Now Shlomo HaMelech is zooming in into the Chokhmah, and he starts by saying the Chokhmah sits on top, at the top of the heights. Berosh meromim ale darech. That's where she stands. Bet netivot nitzava. Bet netivot nitzava, and her ways, her posture, her place is at crossroads. Nitzav is to stand firm, to stand strong. She stands strong at the crossroads. So her place, the place of the Chokhmah, is at the highest level. But where she stands strong is at crossroads. Okay? So now, essentially, from this, we find that the Chokhmah is in two places. At the top heights and at crossroads. Yes?
Top heights is like a mountaintop?
Yeah, at the highest point. But where is she nitzav? Where is she standing firm? Nitzavim, atem nitzavim, you are present, you are right. Atem nitzavim ayom. Where is it nitzava? At the crossroad, which is definitely not the top ones. If it's a crossroad, right? The berosh meromim is excluded or secluded, if you will, right? It's solo. It's on its own. Because if there's something else, then it's not berosh meromim. The highest point is alone. If there's another highest point, then it's not the highest point. But the crossroad, by definition, is something that's crossing with something else. It's a mix of two elements. And here it seems that the Chokhmah has a paradox. Is it alone? Or is it at the crossroads? It stands with something else. And here again, Shlomo HaMelech differentiates between derech, the large ways, and netivot, the little roads. Right? So apparently the crossroad where she stands firm is at the crossroad of the roads, but where she belongs, right? To get to her, the ways to her is to the highest point. So the Gaon starts explaining. The Sefer HaYetzirah, as we know, is a Sefer that has been is miyuchas to Avraham Avinu. Okay, Chachamim tell us that Avraham Avinu wrote Sefer HaYetzirah. In the beginning of Sefer HaYetzirah, the Sefer HaYetzirah teaches us, obviously it's in codes, it's written in codes, but essentially teaches us a lot about the actual Chokhmah, and it starts and he says that when HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world, he created as a mashal of three steps. The Sefer, the book, the Sofer, the writer, and the Sipur, and the story. And all three represent three different steps in what is called the Chokhmah. The Sefer is the idea. The Sofer is the owner of the idea writing the idea. And the Sipur is the story that is told about the idea that has been written by the writer. So we have the idea, we have the implementation of the idea, and we have the realization of the idea. Sefer, Sofer, Sipur. The explanation, HaKadosh Baruch Hu had the idea to create the world. That's the Sefer. Sofer, he created letters. Sipur, he used those letters to create the world. All three are in the level of what is called the Chokhmah. These are the three layers of the Chokhmah. Internally, sorry, we have an ishtalshelut. We have a process that is happening. The Sefer before I get into the process, since we're in the three categories, we'll explain better the three categories. The Sefer, says the Gaon, is the highest level of Chokhmah. It is the Chokhmah that men cannot understand. when Moshe Rabbeinu is in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and he questions HaKadosh Baruch Hu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu answers Moshe, Kach ala b'machshava lefanai. This is the thought that I had in front of me. There's no answer. You ask a question, I don't have the answer to your question, except for the fact that this is what I decided. This is the thought that came to my mind. This is the Sefer. The Sofer, it's already letters. So it's not an idea. It's letters. It's something that I can grasp, that I can have access to. Says the Gaon, this is a layer of Chokhmah that is below the first one. And only tzaddikim, talmidei chachamim, have access to it because of the complexity of its simplicity. It is so simple that it's extremely complicated. This is the Sofer. The Sipur.
The complexity of its simplicity?
Yes. It's so simple that it's complex. The Sipur is already what has been written, the story. It's the creation, which is given to everyone. It's the Pshat. It's the Torah that the Chokhmah that everybody has access to. When you, and the mashal to it is like, if you take a book and you read the book, you will know the story. But very few will know what was the intention of the writer when he wrote the book. Because you have to get beyond the story of the book and enter the writer's mind to understand what he was feeling, where he was, right? When he wrote what he wrote. So although his emotions and his reasons when he wrote the book is much simpler than the actual book, but it's much more complex to tap into it. That's the Sofer. What you will never know is what was going through his mind while he was writing, or why he wanted to write in the first place, or what caused him to write what he wanted to write. Unless he tells it to you b'mforash, there's no way you can know.
And that's the reason why only the Chachamim have access, because they are more like...
Chachamim do not have access to the highest level. Moshe Rabbeinu asked HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem answered, because this is how I decide. This is what I decided. This is the machshava that came to me. This is the thought that came to me. That's the only access you have to that chokhmah.
Why create it if nobody has access to it?
That's not the question. That's not the question. Because at the end of the day, there's always a source to everything, right? That does, it's not, man has limitations, but it doesn't mean that it's not part of the creation itself. The limitations of man don't dictate the level of creation. HaKadosh Baruch Hu can create even though man is limited. It's there, but you don't have access to it. The only access you have to it that you know that it exists. And in itself, it's huge.
So what's the purpose of its being?
Why does it need a purpose? Why does it need a purpose?
I think everything that God created has a purpose.
It has a purpose because you're relating the creation to your assessment. And what you understand? But
my understanding of purpose.
And our understanding is limited. So to our limited understanding, there is a purpose. Things need a purpose. But the concept of purpose is a creation of its own. Now, כך עלה במחשבתי, I'll give you an answer that Chachamim bring. If HaKadosh Baruch Hu would have given us access to all the Chokhmah, then we would not be approaching HaKadosh Baruch Hu the same way we are today. Because if everything is revealed to you, you don't need HaKadosh Baruch Hu anymore. Everything is revealed. So the fact that there is things that are not revealed, but they're there, addresses your limitation, which in essence gives room to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in your life. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes a chesed with you to limit you so that you can actually reveal him and allow yourself to connect to him. Good? So now going back to the three layers. Now, everything I'm telling you is a summary of a summary of a summary of what is written in the Gaon. I'm not going through every sentence he says because at this stage it's not appropriate. But the Sefer HaYetzirah writes, for example, that when HaKadosh Baruch Hu wrote the letters, and the letters are the spirit of the spirit, Ruach Meruach. Ruach Meruach Hakak V'Chasav 22 otiyot Yesod. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created 22 letters from the spirit of the spirit. What is the spirit of the spirit? Is the sofer of the sefer. The spirit, the higher spirit, the ruach, original ruach, is the sefer, is the chokhmah that we don't have access to. And then he created another layer, which is another ruach. So it is a mirror effect of the first ruach, but it's not the first ruach. These are the 22 letters that we have and the 10 vowels that we have. So together, we have 32. And these are the 32 pipes of Chokhmah. Lev netivot ha-Chokhmah. We have 32 pipes, netivot, paths to the Chokhmah. And they are all considered pilot. They are all pele, they are all extraordinary. Why are the 32 creations extraordinary? It's because they don't exist on their own. They are the produce of the Sefer. You understand? They are the produce of the higher Ruach. They are the produce of the higher Chokhmah. And since you don't have access to that higher Chokhmah, it's considered Pele. Pele is extraordinary, something I don't understand. So the understanding, the definition of understanding something is when you understand its root and its source. If you cannot understand the source of something, you're missing in the definition of understanding. And it is considered as Pele. Pele is something abnormal. Not abnormal, above, beyond my understanding. HaKadosh Baruch Hu took the Pele, he took what you cannot understand, which is the first Chokhmah, and created a mirror effect. What happens when you create a mirror effect? You see, right? It gives an image of what it's reflecting, right? From the source, but the other way around, right? When you look at the mirror gives you a reflection of yourself, but upside down. The other way, not upside down, but the other way around. Correct or no? If you take the word Pele and you turn it around, what do you have? You have the word Aleph. the letters of the Torah. So all the letters that we are the image, the mirror image of the first ruach, of the kachala b'machshava lefanai. So essentially, it is Pele. It's not something you have access to it. But because HaKadosh, that's the Sefer. But because the HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the second layer, that's called the Sofer. So he took everything that you don't have access to, all that machshava you don't have access to, and he turned it around. He created a mirror effect for you to be able to have access to something. And the Pele becomes Aleph. And the letters are created. So essentially, how do you know that there is something beyond the Aleph and there is a Pele? Because of the Aleph.
It's the source.
It's not, no, it's an act, it's a point of reference to the source. I have to be very accurate here. It's the point of reference to the source. So you know there is a source, but you don't have access to the source.
It's the most visible starting point for us.
Yes. And this is kach ala b'machshava sheli. This is what I had in mind. You know it's there, but you don't have access to. And then from the letters, from the 32, from the 22 letters plus the 10 vowels, is created the sipur. Now the sipur, in order for it to be created, it needs the involvement of the 4 elements of creation, which is fire, wind, water, and earth. Why do we need those 4 elements? Is because if you want to write a sipur, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world with those 4 elements as a foundation to the world, you can only use those letters as part of the parameters of those 4 elements. And it's only through those 4 elements that now your sipur is a sipur. Your story is a story that becomes a reality.
Can you repeat that, please?
HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when he as a foundation to the creation, right? Created 4 elements. Fire, which is the highest, wind, which under it, water, which under the wind, and earth, which is the lowest. Okay? Now, in order for the letters to become a sipur, they need to mix with the 4 elements. They need to use the 4 elements, which are the parameters of creation, in order for the letters that are spiritual to now mix with the creation and turn into Bereshit, Bara, Elokim, Et HaShamayim, Ve'et Ha'aretz, and have something that's real to us. Good? I lost you, Brian.
Yeah.
Where did I lose you?
Using the 4 elements as a
4 elements,
foundation
again,
the 4 elements
okay.
as a foundation
No
to the
problem.
creation.
Let me explain.
Well, what was the purpose of them for the foundation?
As long as you have letters, you have a potential. When a sipur, a story, is more than just a combination of letters, right? It's a creation of something that transcend the letters. Yes? Now, in order to create, it's like I said, the book. Okay? The actual, the end result, I'm not talking about the Sefer itself. okay? But the story that you read, the content of the book, it is a content because there's a story that can be told with the letters and the words created. If the story cannot be told, those letters are meaningless. They're still letters, even though they're words, they're still letters. It's only a story because it can be told. It can reside somewhere. It can lean somewhere. It can be appreciated by someone. Yes? That appreciation, that someone essentially is an ecosystem. Yes? That is independent from the letters, but it's out there. These are the four yesodot. They're called yesodot, the four foundation, the four elements of foundation are there for an ecosystem to be, for an environment, a space, if you will, okay, to be created for the story to take place. Yes.
While Bereshit Bara was written at the same moment with the four elements, the world has been created in real time.
We're going to get to Bereshit Bara.
Yeah, while the story is written, the world is being created.
The letters, but well, there's secrets in the word Bereshit, like like we brought from the Ramban. Yeah. Okay, the quotes of the Bet and the Dagesh of the Bet and Bet Reshit and Berosh, right? So the Chokhmah and the which basically that's what we're talking, like the Chokhmah and the Malchut, which are the Bet. That's why it said Bet Reshit. Two beginnings were created, which is, please refer to the Shurim on the Maaseh Bereshit of the Ramban, that the Chokhmah and the Malchut were both created at one to give and one to receive. Meaning you cannot create something if there's not a place for it to receive what you're creating. So the four elements
were created before, or they were created at the same time as the creation?
At the same time.
Simultaneously.
Yeah, like writing a book. While you write, you create it.
Ken. Put the sequence of events aside, because we're above time. Do you understand? I know it's hard to understand. I agree. It's very complicated. Okay, because don't forget, we're still in the level of chokhmah here. We're still in the chokhmah at this point. We're not okay. You're with me or no? I will apply. We're still in the mashalem here. I will apply all this to the chokhmah in a minute if we get there. Okay. So the four elements, if you want, is the area, is the ecosystem where the sipur can be a sipur. Okay. Now, this is how. So from the chokhmah ila'ah, from the highest level of chokhmah, a mirror effect is created, and we go from Pele to Aleph. At this level, 22 letters and 10 vowels are created. The potential is now created, right? And with the four elements, the potential is being realized. Okay? Now, keep in mind that the four elements are only tools for the 32 netivot, the path of Chokhmah, to be expressed and used. Yes?
Can you say that they're the kli?
No.
The wrong.
You could to a certain, from a certain perspective, you could, but essentially they're not clean. They're not clean. Now, this being said, in order for the Chokhmah to realize itself and consolidate itself into a full Chokhmah, we need to start from the Sefer to the Sofer to the Sipur. We need to connect all three, right? How does the Torah call letter in Hebrew? A letter. Huh?
Ot.
Ot. Ot. Very good. Kav bet otiot Torah. We have 22 letters ot. And what does the Sefer HaYetzirah tells us? Lev netivot pilot hachokhmah. They are called the 32 paths to the extraordinary, right? They are extraordinary of the chokhmah. Now, what's interesting? What is the shoresh of the word ot? It's the word et, aleph taf. Aleph being the first letter, taf being the last letter. So when in the word, the letter, the word ot, right? In the word letter, you have the first letter of the Torah, you have the last letter of the Torah, and you have the vav in the middle that connects, which is the vav hibur. The vav is known to be the vav that connects. Why do you say and in Hebrew? Ve. So the vav in the middle connects the aleph and the tav, connects the beginning and the end. Meaning that the chokhmah is only a chokhmah when the beginning and the end are connected. And that's when you have access to the ot, which is the letter, being the aleph, that actually allows you to understand that there is a pele. Now, what is the lowest elements for the chokhmah to be consolidated? Is the 4 elements. Nachon? That's dalet. Right? 4 is otiot in the letter gematria is the letter dalet. When does it become relevant and complete? When it gets the first, right? The first level of chokhmah. And what is the letter of the chokhmah? Is the yud. Right? The Torah, the chokhmah is considered the yud. It's the first creation of the letters, essentially was a yud. And from the yud, everything was, there's a yud in every letter. So when you take the yud and you put it with the dalet, and you connect the two, what do you have? You have the letter he. When the yud is inside the dalet, you have the letter he. He is the letter for malchut. That's when it's that's the last he of the Torah. That's the first the he after the yud, which is the bina. So when you connect all 3 chokhmah together, now you have a complete chokhmah, which yields he, which is now the door of the bina, but also the foundation of the malchut, which is the last he of Yud Kei Vav Kei. I lost you tell me. Huh? Right now, I'm enjoying that I'm actually recording this.
So the sequence of the creation of the letters are not in order as we know the Aleph Bet.
No, the yud, exactly. No, the yud was the golem. The yud is the golem.
Okay. And they put, okay.
And by the way, gelem gematria chokhmah.
No.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Gelem is a rough, right? The rough, right? Is with the rough you shape things, diamonds, right? So the gelem, which is the rough of the otiot, which is a dot, which is the yud, gematria chokhmah. So the chokhmah, the yud, when you connect it to the dalet, to the four elements, which is the foundation, which is the ecosystem, the kelim, if you want to call them, though we should not call them kelim, but let's say, right, when they're together, the four that actually have what the yud in it, the foundation, the ecosystem that has the chokhmah in it, creates the he, which is the ecosystem for the bina, the he, right? We know that yud ke vav ke, yud is chokhmah, he is bina, vav is the chasadim, right? And the sfirot, chesed, gvura, tiferet, netzarot, which are 6, and the last he is malchut, which is allows everything to come together. So you create now, by consolidating your chokhmah with, you create an opening to the world of Binah, which in itself also is the ability to create an ecosystem for all this to exist in reality at the end.
Spectacular.
Am I understood a little bit? Okay. So now let's take everything we've said right now is great, but now we have to go back and apply it to the chokhmah, because we have 3 levels of chokhmah, and all this is in the chokhmah. So when the pasuk says berosh meromim ale darech, the chokhmah sits on the top of all the heights. It's referring to the first chokhmah, to kach ala b'machshava. That's the thought that I had. Who has access to that top? Nobody has access to that top. To the highest level, you don't have access. Ale darech makes its ways. What are the ways? What are the large ways? These are the 32 Otiot Torah. Bet, and it creates a bait, a makom. It creates a bait, a bet, right? The bet, the bait, the ecosystem where things can actually cross. Meaning, what does it mean? Netivot nitzava, stand at the crossing road at the bet netivot. The crossing meaning the transition from the chokhmah to the bina is in the netivot. The happens bebet netivot, in the house of the netivot, in the place where the 32 netivot of chokhmah stand. And where do the 32 letters of the 22 letters and 10 nikudim and 10 vowels, where do they stand? By the 4 elements, right? That's where they can stand. That's where the sipur can hold. And that's where the crossroad happened. This is where the chokhmah crosses with the bina. This and essentially with the tevuna. That's how the Gaon learns this pasuk. So going back to us, what is the chokhmah? By the way, the word berosh, you have bet rosh, like bereshit, bet rosh, the 2 heads, which is going back, which is the mitzad echad, the chokhmah, and mitzad sheni, the malchut, bet rosh, right? So how does this? I know it sounds. I know Sandy is like this is. I know it sounds very far from practicality, but it's extremely practical, and I'll explain. And now you'll see how this applies. Our access to chokhmah, we said, "Halo chokhmah tikra." Halo, it's there. It's always there. Nachon? And all we have to do is connect to it. Which means that there is, says the Gaon, there is a continuous flow of chokhmah, of light of chokhmah, from HaKadosh Baruch Hu into us at all time. We don't have access to that source of chokhmah. This is kachala b'machshava. This is what Kadosh Baruch Hu decided. This is the sefer within us. Our avodah is to be the sofer, to be the writer. What does that mean? To tap in to that source of chokhmah, to be aware and look for that source of chokhmah that comes to us essentially fragmented in letters, in ideas that we don't understand. There's information, there's resources that are floating in our head, but we still don't know what to do with it. And it's now our obligation to turn this into a sipur, into a story. What does it mean to turn it into a sipur? To use that chokhmah and make it your life. Make it the story of your life. And your actions, your behavior, your thoughts is the sipur, is the story. So every thought that you have, every idea that goes through your mind, whether it's good or bad or in between, is the sipur, is the story you create from the potential that has been given to you from the source of chokhmah that HaKadosh Baruch Hu showers upon you. For that reason, the Torah is so makpid and so intransigent with the thoughts of a person. Because any thought you have is essentially taking the potential that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is influxing into you and turn it into bad or turn it into good. This is where the Bechirat Adam starts. This is where your choice really belongs. This is why you have the potential to think good, the potential to think bad. This is when you think good, good things happen. When you think bad, the other way. Because you take the potential, you take the source of wisdom that HaKadosh Baruch Hu influx in you at all time, and you choose to write instead of Bereshit, Berosh, Reshit Bet, Bet Reshit, Berosh Shit. You choose through your thought process. Now, when you receive chokhmah from a third party, from in the way the Ramban, the Gan tells us from your Rav, HaKadosh Baruch Hu showers influx the source of chokhmah, right? He's the source of chokhmah, and he showers upon you constant chokhmah. You have the kelim now, you have the tools now to take that chokhmah, understand it, and grasp it, to internalize it and understand what you're being taught. That's from the outside. This is, in a nutshell, what the Gan wanted to teach us. Yes.
Okay. So the way I understand it, when Hashem is sending us constant chokhmah, right?
Ken.
We have no control or the ability to impact that in any way. Is that correct?
The source of it.
Not the source of it, but what is actually coming through, the content.
Yes. No, the content, the source in its, the source at its source, there's no content. At its source, it's chokhmah. It's just machshava, the ability to think. What?
It's what could be.
Yes.
So really, the point in which we start is once it's inside of us. That's where the Bechira begins, right?
Yes. What do I make from these letters? What do I make from that, from the situation? How do I guide my chokhmah? Is my chokhmah will be applied to be constructive, positive, and holy? Or will my chokhmah will be used for other things? Is my chokhmah being used to do futile things, or my chokhmah being used to do productive things?
And that's really why, I mean, that's one of the many proofs for Bechira Chavshi, right? We get
That's exactly the
ideas,
bechira. Exactly.
we get
Exactly.
ideas constantly throughout the day,
Correct.
constantly. It's our ability to sort the pieces and the fragments together and to choose a path based on that.
That's right. That's right.
what happens.
Just like the letters are fragmented, are separated, and you have to put them together to create a story, you take these ideas and put that together to make a decision and make the story of your life. טוב.
We're getting there.
בשם השם נעשה ונצליח. ברוך השם. ברוך השם.